Alright, well I ran into a rather significant issue recently with the Pi board, and it's going to cause, well, I'm going to have to replace this entire Pi board, the Banana Pi board, with the Raspberry Pi Model 4. This has got 4 gigs of RAM. What it comes down to is something I didn't even think to check for the longest time because I never thought it would be an issue, but I cannot change the resolution of the screen. And, you know, at first glance, right, that shouldn't be that big of a deal. The issue is that my pygame window runs at 720 by 480, and it is locked in on that 7-inch screen to 1300 something by 700 something. I forget what the exact numbers are. But what that means is that in order to play or display the game in full screen and then taking up the entire width and height of the screen instead of just like, you know, maybe that much and the rest of it is all like blacked out, you need to include the pygame.SCALED flag, right? Which normally not an issue. Running on this though, I tried it and I went from running, you know, whatever I've got, like 30-40 frames per second without issue, to running, you know, 5 to 10 and just incredibly slow. And sure enough, I ssh'd while I was running and ran htop, or however you pronounce that, I don't know what's actually called. And yeah, it was eating up all the CPU cores, just all that processing power just to scale that. And so, like, you wouldn't think it would be an issue to try and downgrade your resolution, but something with how the Banana Pi builds their images, and I checked multiple forums, multiple posts online, and it turns out, yeah, this is not a new problem by any means. So yeah, I'm gonna have to rewire all this stuff up. I had to buy an adapter because this is a micro HDMI on here as opposed to the full HDMI on this board. So now it's going, yeah, I had to adopt that. Thankfully, the setup is more or less the exact same if you look at it, except for they swapped the Ethernet and USBs. But so hardware side of things, not too much is different except for the boards and the HDMI adapter. From the software side of things, it's going to require a completely new image for the SD card. Going to have to install new libraries to work with the Raspberry Pi instead of the Banana Pi. And that also means I got to adopt all 3 or 4 of my scripts I've written so far to work with those new libraries instead of the old ones. Which isn't necessarily a terrible thing, it just means that, well, it means the code is fine, it just means that I'll need to shift from the wiringpi library to either the, what are the options? You got like digitalio or digitalio, you got the Raspberry Pi.GPIO, and then you got the gpiozero. So I need to choose one of those 3 over the wiringpi. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, everything is running, you know, without issue. It's just that. So